Happy New Year, roadies. If you're anything like me, you've already started to put together your reading list for 2018. Let me help you with that. Head over to audible.com right now. Use the code ROADIEFREERADIO when you check out to start your free 30-day trial and get a free audiobook download. There's over thousands and thousands of titles to choose from. Just use the code ROADIEFREERADIO when you check out at audible.com. Get yourself a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
Hey everyone, this is Rebecca Wilson.
This is Chris Reitzman.
What's happening, roadies? This is Lauren Crowley, and you are listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business.
Okay, are we ready? Happy New Year, roadies! Happy 2018, 2018, so long 2017. It is the start of a new year. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the show. This is Lawrence Milburn, your host, coming at you from a freezing cold barn in Northwest Connecticut. Damn, it is good to be here on New Year's Day. My guest today here on episode number 79 is the amazing, uber-talented Miss Lauren Crowley. But before we get to that, how was your Christmas, man? Huh? How was your New Year's? Did you have a nice couple of weeks off? Did you get to chill a little bit? Were you working? Did you do a great show? Did you buy some new music? Did someone buy you some music? Did the wife buy a new pack of tour socks? Did your partner get you a box of grip tape to take out on the road with you? What'd you get? Maybe you got a call about that gig you were waiting for. Did that come in? Guess what? I hope it all happened. And at the end of it, I hope you were safe. I hope you had someone by your side. And I'm excited for you to be here today. We are kicking the year off January 1st. I'm so psyched it's a Monday. I'm so psyched for today's guest. I'm so psyched for our future guests, not only this month, but going forward. Don't know if you saw it. I did post this month's run of guests on social media. Go over and check it out. I'm going to tell you everybody who's coming up in just a few minutes here. But anyway, oh my God, I'm super psyched. Super psyched. Didn't do much for New Year's. Sick again. I'm ending 2017 the way I spent a lot of 2017, and that is sick. Our son got sick again, ear and sinus infection, passed it along to us. Hey, what else is new? What are you going to do? If I pulled it out, I'm here, and we're doing it. Couple quick things I wanted to let you know about. Christmas was pretty good to me, man. Christmas was pretty awesome to me. And I got a couple of books that I have to mention because now my 2018 reading list has kicked into full gear and I got to get going. First up, The Last Sultan, The Life and Times of Ahmet Ertegun, behind the music at Atlantic Records with Ray Charles, Led Zeppelin, and the Rolling Stones by Robert Greenfield. You can get this book on Audible, audible.com, as you heard in my little ad at the beginning of this thing. If you use the code ROADIEFREERADIO when you head over to audible.com, you can download this bad boy, start a free trial, and listen to it on the bus, in the car, in the train, walking to work, whatever you got to do. There's also a link for it in the show notes on the website. Next up, I got Billy Bragg, Roots, Radicals, and Rockers, How Skiffle Changed the World. I don't know much about Skiffle. I do know it changed the world through the Beatles. So that's pretty cool. And so I'm psyched to dive into this as well. Again, links to both of those things, those books, in the show notes on the website. Head over and check it out. Listen, my friends, 2017 was not quite the year overall I was hoping it was going to be. All right. Didn't quite go the way I wanted it to go. But in terms of family and in terms of this show, it was through the fucking roof. Okay. How about that? I want to thank you guys for tuning in week after week, hanging in there with me week after week, enjoying these incredible stories, listening to these folks share their incredible lives, and their hard work and their thoughts and their opinions and their advice in what they do day in and day out. I would not be here if the response was not so overwhelming. So thank you very much. Our audience size has more than doubled since last year. I went to AES. I'm going to NAMM. Now, I'm going to jump ahead because I wasn't going to tell you this, but I was going to tell you this, but I just wasn't going to tell you yet. All right, so NAMM. You know I'm going to NAMM. I like saying it like that, NAMM. Thursday, January 25th, as I have said, keeping concerts safe from 2 to 3 p.m. That is the panel I will be moderating. My good friend Heather Rafter from Rafter Marsh Law Firm asked me to moderate this thing. She's going to get up, she's going to tee it up, and then she's going to let me run with this thing. Here are the panelists for this thing. I think we're still waiting on confirmation from a couple of other people not on this list, but here's the list, man. Mike Moore, First Assistant Chief, Office of Operations for the LAPD. All right. We got Dean Correa, Head of Security for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And Jesse Hughes, singer, obviously, Eagles of Death Metal. These folks are going to have a lot to say. I think we're waiting to see if we can get someone from the promotion side, maybe a Live Nation person, something like that. We're trying to lock in that last little seat. But even with these folks, this is going to be a hell of a panel. 2 to 3 p.m. in the California Ballroom A, Level 2 at NAMM. Thursday, January 25th, 2 to 3. I cannot wait to get on this stage and break down where we're at with safety right now, where people think we should go, get some of these folks' opinions. These folks are going to have some opinions, and see what's what. So if you have a chance, head over to the NAMM website, get a pass, come and see me. Let me know if you're going to be there. Even if you can't make the panel, if you're coming in on Friday, hey, give me a shout, man. I want to meet you. I want to say hi. And if you've been on the show, but we've only met through the Skype call doing the interview, guess what? Come give me a hug. I want to see you in person. All right? All right, so that's NAMM. So what else? I don't know. That's it. Oh, upcoming guests. Here we go. I posted this on social media. I hope you've seen it. Today, obviously, Lauren Crowley. Next week, we got Hank Fury, Systems Tech. Week after that, we got Joel Lonke, production manager, tour manager, house engineer. We got Liz Shaw, host of another podcast and kind of a mentor to me from Recording Studio Rockstars. For all of you recording engineers out there, if you haven't heard of this show, you're not listening to this show, you better start listening to this show. Recording Studio Rockstars. Liz is out of Nashville. He does a great job. He's got a killer story. He's involved in a big lawsuit situation right now at the city of Nashville, trying to take away his right to record in his house. I don't know. It's a whole thing. We're going to get into it. That show airs the week I go to Anaheim. And here's the other thing about the Anaheim show and the panel. I am hoping, I'm not hoping. We're going to do it. I already got clearance to do it. We're going to film it, okay? We're going to film that session. And that is going to be episode number 83. So we do the panel on Thursday, and then that following Monday is going to be episode number 83. And we're going to show the video of the panel, and it's also going to come out through SoundCloud, on this thing as a podcast, okay? So if you can't make it, you can still hear it and watch it and do all that kind of good stuff. So we got a hell of a month. We got a hell of a month ahead of us. Again, I really cannot thank you guys enough for all of your support. I got a lot of cool stuff coming up this year. I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep my head down. Did you guys make any resolutions? I didn't make any resolutions. My resolution is basically tighten up the shoelaces even tighter than they were last year. That's about it. Put my head down and just keep going forward. That's about all I got. That's about all I can do. So I'm super psyched. Super psyched. Here we go. Lauren Crowley. Wow. This woman has a story. This woman is a badass. I have used that term before. I think I bring it up in the beginning of this episode. We start the Skype call and I notice this wine bottle in the shot, and she's got a Telefunken microphone grip taped up to the top of the wine bottle, and that's her mic stand, her makeshift mic stand to do the call. And I was in at that point. I was like, wow, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Lauren Crowley from Cleveland, Ohio, came to me through Chris Reitzman, another Cleveland guy. Monitor engineer for Ryan Adams, Eminem, Tyler the Creator, ASAP Rocky, Kurt Vile, and Jenny Lewis. She's done a lot of stuff. She learned her craft from the ground up. She's awesome. She is awesome. So listen, let's dive into it. Let's get there already, okay? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Head over to the website. Check out the special mentions section. There's plenty of stuff to choose from in there. And yeah, keep a lookout. A lot of good stuff coming up. All right, here we go. First of the year, kids. First of the year, Lauren Crowley.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
Lauren Crowley, you are off the road. You're back in Cleveland. You were just in New Zealand. Who were you out there with?
Oh, actually, I was just in New Zealand hanging out with friends.
Oh, you're just hanging out. Well, that's good. That's a nice little break. Were you there for a tour and stayed behind, or did you go totally independent?
No, I was actually pretty close to getting 1K status, so I had to do a mileage run. So I just went down and spent a week on Waiheke Island.
Oh, cool. How was it?
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. It's amazing.
I've never been. Nice little break.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Needed it. I had a busy year, so it was good to just get some downtime.
Cool, man. Well, let's dive into that. But first, you are a Cleveland native.
Mm-hmm.
You came to me from another Cleveland native, Chris Reitzman.
Yep. Love
And
Chris.
Did you know him growing up at all, or no?
No, I didn't. He was kind of around the scene before my time, and I actually grew up way out in the country, about 45 minutes southeast of Cleveland.
Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't really get too into the Cleveland scene until I moved back after Europe when I was 21.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And what were you doing? What kind of kid were you? What kind of high school student were you?
Oh, I was horrible. I think I did okay in school, but I used to sneak out of my house and, go down to gigs in Cleveland and be a total pain in the ass for my parents. But,
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of music did you grow up listening to?
Well, like when I was young, it was always old country stuff out there. My grandpa really, loved Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, all that.
Uh-huh.
But then, we moved a little bit closer to civilization, and I met some, older guys that were into punk rock and all that. And so I started listening to that, and they would take me to shows, and all sort of spiraled from there. But
Now, what'd your folks do?
my dad has a shop. They make industrial fans. It's not very exciting. And my mom does retail.
Cool. My wife does retail, so I know it. I know how that works. Now, you say that the industrial fan thing might not be interesting, but given your history, I got to imagine some of that rubbed off.
Oh, definitely.
You
Yeah,
seem
my
to have
dad's
an
got.
affinity for gear.
Yeah. My dad has a really brilliant engineering brain, and I got a little bit of it. So.
Nice. Any brothers and
Been
sisters?
helpful. Yeah, I have a little brother.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. He actually works for my dad now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he spent some time in the Marines, went over to Afghanistan, but he's back with us now and working with Dad.
Nice. So at 18, with all this music interest, were you thinking that you wanted to be a musician at all, or no?
No, I don't think so. I never got into music when I was younger, into playing music at all, and also I had horrible stage fright, hated speaking in front of people, so I knew that getting on stage wasn't an option. But I loved going to shows, and that was the biggest push for me to move to. I graduated high school early. I worked like 3 jobs, and I sold a bunch of pot, and I saved up, and I moved over to London as soon as I was legally able to.
Why London?
And it was amazing. Just because I wanted to be in a big city, and I wanted to be around cool stuff and meet new people. And, I knew growing up in rural Ohio that I lived in a really small bubble, and I just knew I wasn't going to get any smarter if I didn't go somewhere where I would be introduced to things that were new. So
yeah. So rather than in New York, Nashville, L.A., San Francisco, it was like, let's get as far out of here as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. So.
Yep. Cool.
Uh-huh.
And where in London did you live? Did you know anybody, or was it just like, let's do this?
No, I didn't know anybody. And I'd been talking about doing it since I was probably 14. I was telling my parents, I'm like, I'm leaving, I'm moving to London. And then, I had money and I was going to go. And my dad eventually was like, okay, well, I'm going to go over there with you and we're going to check it out. So we went, and I had mapped out all the music venues and I wanted to check out that stuff. And I remember we got off the tube in Camden Town and I was like, yeah, this is where I want to live. So I had this really shitty apartment in Kentish Town, and I got robbed 3 times the first month I lived there. They stole everything that I had.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Wound up getting evicted from that place. And I wound up moving into squats with a bunch of punk kids. So we would squatting was legal then.
Yeah.
So you could just break into anything that was abandoned, throw a Section 6 on the door, and yeah, it was your home.
So when is this? This is like 2005-ish or what?
Yeah, would have been 2005, 2006 when I was there.
Nice. Tough for your folks to let you go?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I kept in touch with them. They always wanted me to come home, and eventually I actually got beat up really bad, and I got my kneecap really messed up. So I wound up moving back because of that, because I thought I was going to have surgery. But it was fun, and being over there really is what sparked my interest to travel. And I just knew that I just wanted to be around music all the time. They would break open big, huge warehouses and throw illegal shows, and it was just so much fun all the time.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Were you starting to kind of work behind the scenes at that point, or was it just as a fan?
Pretty much just as a fan. There was a guy that had this rickety old sound system, and I would kind of hang out with him, and look over his shoulder, and I definitely got the interest that way. Yeah.
Front of house, thinking like this could be cool to mix bands, or was it just like I just want to be in?
Well, and that stuff too. I mean, there was only front of house. People were running monitors from front of house, because it wasn't big enough to have a full on thing.
Right.
Yeah, and I hadn't really ever been to too many big concerts outside of a club or a basement.
Yeah. So
at that point,
it doesn't sound like you had that experience like a lot of folks have had that I've talked to, where they go to a show as a kid, and rather than get blown away or attracted by the drummer or the guitar player, the lead singer, and like I'm gonna go be a musician, or they look at who's the guy doing front of house or gal doing front of house, that was just like that moment where they're like, that's what I want to do, or that's people. It's just you just kind of fell into it, being a fan of punk music and going to shows.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then actually I did go to, once I came back to the States, one of my really good friends was like, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, all I want to do is travel and like go to gigs and have fun. And he was like, you should just do sound, why not? And he was going to Full Sail down in Florida.
Yeah. And
so he convinced me to come down there. But that was back when it was a trade school.
Yep.
So I did that, and unfortunately he failed out, and I wound up having to go move in with I met these boys that were going to motorcycle school, and I lived in their living room with my pet rat and my 3-legged dog. And I somehow managed to make it through school. But yeah, it's all kind of blurry back then.
How younger is your younger brother?
Darren is 2.5 years younger than me.
Is he convinced at this point that he has like the coolest older sister? A rat and a 3-legged dog, at least half an arm that's all tatted up, and you work in rock and roll. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, Darren's pretty funny. He's been out to a bunch of shows, hung out backstage with me. So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
That would be the best. Like, oh yeah, my older sister's rolling into town with Eminem. That's awesome. But wait, that's not how you started. You told me a little bit earlier you started because you want to be a hairdresser.
Yeah. So when I moved to London, I took some courses at Vidal Sassoon over there because I just kind of always assumed that I was going to be a hairdresser growing up. And so that was what pushed me over there, and actually did finish that. And I still do cut a lot of hair, just for my friends though, and family. And every once in a while the rock star needs a trim up, I'll do it in the dressing room.
That's awesome.
But, yeah.
That's good. You hang a little sign backstage. Lauren's chair. Do you travel with your own chair?
I should demand that.
Right?
But no, I don't.
Put that in your contract. All right. So you skipped out of Vidal Sassoon, came back. Who beat you up? What the fuck's up with that?
Oh, it's a long story. It was a guy. He was a horrible person. He lived in one of the squats with me, and he used to beat up his girlfriend. And so we kicked him out. And I didn't see him for forever, and then ran into him, and he was like, kind of apologized to me. and wound up, we're hanging out, we're drinking. We were all drinking in this alley behind this bar. I don't know why. But he must have put something in my drink and managed to drag me pretty far away from my friends and beat the shit out of me. And luckily these girls found me just bleeding. My face, my knee was the size of a baseball cap or a baseball. And they took me to the hospital, and
holy
it was
shit,
pretty brutal.
dude.
I can't really remember any of it, but yeah.
Wow. You're super lucky.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's an asshole.
Well, yeah, clearly. Jesus. All right, so that was a wake-up call. You came home.
So I came home.
Yeah.
Moved in with a bunch of my friends. They were living in Lakewood. It was this big house. It was totally trash. There was like 6 of us and a bunch of dogs living there, and my rat. And
I was going to say, was a rat there?
Yeah, Ace. Ace was still around. And so right around the corner was this venue called the Fantasy nightclub, which had its massive heyday in like the late 80s, early 90s. That's where, I know Chris used to talk a lot about Nine Inch Nails and all that, but Michelle, who owned that, was good friends with him too. And that, they used to play there all the time. Like the Dead Boys would play there all the time. Really cool venue. But by the time I got there, it was on its way out. But I walked in wearing a Motorhead t-shirt, and I go up to the sound guy and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get into this. Do you think that I could like intern under you at all? And his name is Dale. He's this old guy. Unfortunately, sorry, that's my cat meowing.
That's all right. Yeah, cats, rats, and dogs.
I know. I've got everything, all sorts of critters.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing a Motorhead t-shirt, and he's like, I mixed Motorhead back in the 80s for like a short period. And he's, talking to me and telling me all sorts of stories. And so he's like, come in next week. And, I'm like, sweet, I'm going to learn under this guy. And I get there, and he's like, shows me the downstairs room. There was a smaller room, and he's like, showing me all the gear and all that. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go set up upstairs. So you're good, right? And I was like, panic, and luckily it was only an acoustic show, but he just totally threw me out there and was like, all right, you're mixing, have fun, bye.
Wow. But at this point you'd done Full Sail, so you kind of knew your way around some gear.
Yeah. Their stuff, they had I can't really remember too much what they had, but it was pretty nice pro stuff. I think a lot of kids, go out of Full Sail and then they immediately try to go to a big sound company because the gear's comparable, where I went totally backwards and I started at, the bottom again. But I'm glad I did, because, I was working with piece of crap thrown together systems, and everything was broken all the time, and I had to learn how to fix stuff, and I was totally on my own, So
that is awesome. So
yeah,
how long did that last?
So I worked there. They have like a complex of 3 venues. I worked there for a while, and then there was actually a fire happened, not in any of the venues, but it was in they had this like thrift store, and it caught on fire, and I had a band sound checking upstairs, and this, one of the girls that works there runs up yelling fire. And so I'm like, okay, guys, I was like, grab all your gear. We're like running down 3 flights of stairs with all the drums and everything. And I go back up because I forgot to hit the breakers, and it's full of smoke. And I'm like, shit, and I hit the breakers, go down. And of course, by then the local news had showed up, and they're, interviewing random people on the street, and they're like, it's all burning to the ground, and I was the one. I saw there was no fire in the venues. And so I tried to go talk to the guy to like calm it down and do a little bit of damage control. And of course he won't put me on TV, because at the time I had like a black mohawk with the sides of my head dyed cheetah print, probably like a really offensive shirt on, So anyway, so because of really irresponsible journalism, like a bunch of people just assumed that the place was toast, and it wasn't. It was open next weekend, but the damage was kind of done, and people weren't showing up. And, I was being, I really liked the owners. And so I was working for, like half rate, and I was like, okay, like I still got to pay rent. So I went to another punk club called Now That's Class, where I used to hang out all the time. And, I was nervous, and I got kind of drunk. I wanted to talk to the owner, and I got too drunk, and I walked up to him at the end of the night, and I was like, hey, it sounds like shit in here. You should hire me. And I gave him my phone number on a napkin. And I woke up the next day, like, so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I was that audacious and that I did that. But he called me and he hired me. And
that's awesome. Wait, how much were you making back at Fantasy? And how many nights were you mixing?
$75 a show, but they were usually open on the weekends. And then Now It's Class, in the beginning, they would only kind of let me do the smaller stuff, but eventually, I wound up kind of taking over. And that would be anywhere between, $40 for a small show to $150 on a big show. We didn't really have a set rate.
So roughly how many clubs in town are we talking about?
Like that I worked at, or in the...
Well, that were around at that time.
I would say probably about 6, like legit rock clubs with capacities over like 150 people.
Okay.
But then we always had, like really cool DIY spaces in town too. I lived at one for a long time. It was called the Tower.
Uh-huh.
And so like one big room, we had a giant half pipe, and then we had a huge showroom, and we would just throw like, be the craziest stuff. People setting off fireworks inside, and like really dangerous, but really fun.
That's fantastic. So wait, so just getting back, okay, so we got a few clubs, we got a handful of clubs, we got a bunch of warehouse spaces where people are setting off firecrackers.
Uh-huh.
You're starting to mix sound. How many other women are mixing sound at this time?
None.
I knew that was the answer.
Yeah. And you know what? I eventually, I worked at the Grog Shop too, for a long time, which is like, everybody knows that one in Cleveland. But the owner of Now Let's Class, Paul, he was in a bunch of bands, and he was in a band called the Inmates. It's a hardcore band. It's been around forever, but they were playing a big show in New York City with Systematic Death, Japanese band. And he took me with him to mix the show, and it was great. It was really fun. But then the guitar player from that band too had another band called Keel Hall, which is like pretty legendary. If you're from Cleveland, you definitely know him. Uh-huh. And they started to take me on tour. And so when I started touring, I think I met 2 other girls, like one in Russia and one in Seattle, that were doing it. Wow. And it was rad to meet them. I was like, oh my gosh, like
right.
there are other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you guys have any time to sort of trade any, sort of tips or tricks or tools of the trade sort of thing, or just bond a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Actually, Keel Hall and we went on one tour, and Russian Circles was playing with us, and they had a girl, Robin, that was out, and she actually really taught me how to gate drums to make them sound big. So yeah, that was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we still kind of keep in touch a little bit.
Were you seeking out women as mentors? Did you even have a clue that you could do that at the time, or was it just like survival? And
it was just kind of survival.
Keep learning.
Yeah. And it was, it's hard too, like, especially because there were no women. So like a lot of the times, bands would come in, and I'd be standing behind the soundboard, and they'd be like, hey, when's the sound guy getting in? I'm like, I'm the fucking sound guy. Like, and they would kind of scoff or roll their eyes and like pretend, and so it was like every single day you would just have to prove yourself, and I would nail it, and I would mix the shit out of their band, and they'd be like, oh, thanks, and then I'd let them crash at my house. And then, then it was cool, and then they liked me, and then word would spread, and then I actually, especially at the Grog Shop, because they were doing bigger stuff, then I started to get requests all the time for me to be mixing it, and so, that was cool.
What's that like? I mean, I imagine every mixer, guitar tech, whoever, has to go through some of that degree of, you're working with a new band, new artist, it's a new relationship, you have to kind of prove yourself again, but what's that like as a woman, having to do that almost from scratch and get over some biases right away in like an hour and a half?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how it would be different from. I don't know if I can like really speak for how it is as a woman, because I only know it's just my experience, and I can obviously tell. People say sexist, fucked up things to me. Like obviously there is a bias, but I mean, all I can do, I'm there, and it's my job, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it right. And so it's like. I don't know. I mean, I guess you just have to just push through it, and eventually, hopefully it gets easier, and also too, I've been lucky, I've always had pretty strong men that have always stuck up for me and had my back. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that Chris said about you, and we'll hit this now, and he was like, yo, you got to talk to this woman, Lauren Crowley. She's awesome. She's known as the Lion Tamer. Now, I believe he was talking about a reference to a particular artist, whose name shall remain nameless. But have you heard that before? And if not, do you know as to what he's talking about?
Yeah, I have heard that before, and I do. I know that especially 8th A too. Once they got to know me and had me there, they would usually contract me out on stuff that was, a little difficult. But I think that's the thing is my experience in the clubs is invaluable because, I had 4 bands a night and they're cranky and they've been in a van all day, and it's how you, get what you want, but also are accommodating and, just know how to talk to people and be nice to people and realize that they're stressed out. And, yeah. So I have heard that. But what's funny is actually my crew calls me Mama Lion because.
Oh, now you're Mama Lion.
Well, they call it just because, if you mess with any of my friends, I'll call your eyes out. So,
and for you, does that extend also to the artist?
No, I don't think so. But
okay.
It's the joke with my crew most of the time. They call me Mama Lion. So
nice. I was going to ask if you had any nicknames.
Yeah.
Mama Lion.
Yeah, that one. I'm trying to think. I'm sure I have more. I probably have a bunch of nicknames behind my back, but.
Yeah, don't we all? So at some point you were fixing gear out of your house, right?
Yeah.
Was that before 8th Day, after 8th Day? Is that happening right now?
No, that was still the club days. I wish I had time. Every once in a while, I'll have a friend will drop off a guitar amp or something that's messed up and, that they don't really care about it. Like, hey, if you have time, fix it. If not, don't. And unfortunately, I haven't had the time or the motivation. But yeah, for a long time there, I was fixing stuff out of my house. Everything from, somebody would spill a beer on the console at the venue, so I'd swap it out with another one and take it home and pull it all apart. And I kind of honestly learned a lot of trial and error. But it was good and it was helpful. And I got my soldering skills really up to chops. So by the time I did go to 8th Day, that was an awesome skill. And
yeah. And how did you start learning some of that stuff? I mean, who taught you how to solder? Your dad maybe was helping out or no?
No. I think we had we had a short training thing at Full Sail on how to do it, but then, just going into the clubs, everything was broken all the time. So it was like, constantly having to fix XLRs and everything like that. And so, just practice and sometimes you screw something up and then sorry, this cat
That's all right.
will not get off my lap.
It's all good, man. Do you think that students coming out of places like Full Sail and whatnot get a bad rap?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly,
Why?
Well, I can't really speak for how it is now because I know that they've completely changed it all and now it's like a 2-year program. When I went, I actually got really lucky because it was a trade school and it got accredited as an actual university and tuition doubled after I was already halfway through. So I kind of got, I got really lucky that I went when I did. But I think it's probably the fact that a lot of people, especially the older guys, they had to do it the hard road and they had to start at the beginning and they had to, learn everything on their own. And, I think people go to Full Sail, then they come out of there with a big head and they go straight to a massive sound company and they expect, to be immediately put out on tour. And, and I think that, the stuff that you learn there, especially I think the most valuable thing for me, the experience on the gear is fine. But honestly, if you're not constantly working on a specific console or something like that, the information kind of goes in and out. So
right.
By the time I got to 8th Day and I was working on big stuff again, I had to completely relearn everything. But what I did learn at school was the physics behind how sound propagates and a lot of math that is super important because, sometimes you get out there and your stuff doesn't work and smart isn't working and knowing the speed of sound and how you can time align something with a fucking calculator and a
right.
measuring tape if you absolutely have to get close is important. It's just helps, I think, that knowledge helps a lot with my troubleshooting and making decisions and all that.
Do you you mostly do monitors now, right?
Yeah, I prefer monitors.
I was going to say, do you like monitors? You like being out in front of house or what do you like to do?
No, I don't like front of house just because I just hate the crowd. I mean, that sounds horrible, but you're out there, people are talking to you and it's just, I don't know. I just enjoy being back at monitors, just dealing with the artist and the band. Plus, there's always funny shenanigans happening back there, with the techs and all that. And we have fun, and it's our little on-stage family. So, yeah, I definitely. Plus, I think monitors is more of a challenge. You've got between 6 and 20 mixes going on. So yeah,
Right.
it's cool.
And it's probably somewhat feels a bit more immediate, in that if something goes wrong on stage, they're looking at you right away. Person in
Yeah.
front of house. I mean, yes, if the sound cuts out, like, you're fucked. But they can't really make eye contact with you out there over 50,000 fans, right? Whereas with you, you can get a glaring look or a beer bottle at your head or whatever it is, and
Yep.
you better fix it quick.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so then tell me about getting over to Eighth Day.
So, yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I was kind of nervous about applying, and I did. And I sent my resume to where you were supposed to send your resume, but then I also CC'd Tom Arco. And so I got a call in like 3 hours, went in for an interview, and yeah, he hired me at my interview. It was cool. We had a really funny conversation. And then I remember the vice president, Jack, he was like, all right, so why don't you come in Monday at 9 a.m.? And I was like, 9 in the morning? Are you serious?
Is this a sound company or a bank?
I haven't woken up before 2 p.m. in years. I don't know how I'm going to handle this. But yeah. Yeah, so I went there. They kept me in the shop for probably about 7 or 8 months, I think.
And was
I mainly
was that
worked in
strictly
there.
an internship?
Oh, no. It was a job. I mean, I was 23 or 24 by this time, so
Okay.
yeah. And so
I was old. I was like 23 or 24. Holy shit.
well, I mean, I had some experience. I'd been on tour internationally, and I'd
right.
mixed some totally nameless festivals. But
You've been to Russia?
yeah, I'd been to Russia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I mainly worked in their electronics repair and design department.
Okay.
Which was fun. And that was cool too, because I learned how every piece of gear really worked, like all of their signal flow boxes and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so that's what, 9 to 5 every day? You're punching a clock?
Yep. Definitely. And I was still, in the beginning, I was still working at the clubs just for, extra money.
Yeah. How'd that work out for you?
Oh, yeah. I was pretty tired. And I never got used to it. I mean, I would complain to my mom. I'm like, oh my God, I can't wake up this early. She's like, you're going to get used to it. It's going to be fine. No, I never, ever got used to it.
I bet.
I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Hence why our interview's at 2:00.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I know I've got one coming up at 10:30 next week.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, he's also a pilot, so I think he's used to,
wow.
Yeah, going all day. Anyway, so all right, so you're working at Eighth Day. You were there for 6 months. I mean, was the plan going to Eighth Day was like, I'm going to take this time to learn how all this shit works, and then jet out from there, or what were you thinking?
I mean, no, I really planned on staying there forever, I think, at the time. But even, I mean, going there and learn, holy crap, I will never forget my first week going in there and just all of the stuff, it was like overwhelming almost. It was, all this stuff, and everything has all these specific names, and I don't know any of them. And I don't even know what these, I know what an NL4 and an XLR is, but they're calling all these cables, all these names. And I'm just like,
right.
Totally freaking out. Yeah, and I almost quit the first week because I was like, I think this is too much for me. And luckily, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I stuck it out, and I learned so much there. And, so many people there were really awesome and really helpful. And also, so this is where I got my first female mentor. This chick, Kristen Dean, was there. And she, would really take some time to, show me stuff, go over a console with me, like whenever she had any free time. She was usually in prepping and doing all stuff, so I would wander in there pretending I was going to go get a coffee, in the other way, and I'd catch her. And
what was her story?
Kristen, actually, she worked for Chrysler for a long time as an engineer. I think it was that. I know it was some kind of car company. And so she got into sound a little bit later. And yeah, she's awesome. She's still working. We've done gigs together, and
that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's good. So you had some folks looking out for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean,
Eighth Day's cool.
I was going to say, imagine the people that work at an Eighth Day or Claire Brothers or whatever it is, they're in some cycle of career, road life, non-road life as well. So they recognize someone like you who's coming in hungry, who wants to learn, who's had some experience. You're 24 years old. You've been to Russia, and right? And they're like, all right, we're going to take this person under our wing and show them the ropes.
Yeah. Well, and actually, too, another funny thing, when I came in, I run into this guy, Scotty, and he used to play in a punk band with a bunch of my friends back in the day. And since then, I hadn't seen him, since I was probably 15 years old.
Yeah.
But he had gone into sound, and he was doing big stuff, and he was my crew chief on my first 2 tours.
Oh, that's awesome. Did he
so,
hire you on those tours?
No, I mean, 8th, they just sort of
they sort of put it all
us
together.
all out, random. And obviously, my first one, I was just flying PA and patching the stage and all that. But
So talk to me about that transition. You've been there however long you were there, and the next move comes, and what does that look like?
So I went out with, it was a 7-band metal tour. Five Finger Death Punch was headlining. Yep. And it was wild. It was.
How did it come about? Did you get a call? Was it like you're right place,
no,
right
this
time?
was I was just teching for 8th day, and so most of the time, they'll just staff it based on who's there, and I guess they decided that I was ready to go out on the road. So.
And it sounds like places like that, 8th Day and again Claire, they use that sort of downtime with people to see how they do, right? Handle a task here and there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they'll send you out on local gigs first, and make sure you can handle it and you can fly a PA and you can get along with people and manage stagehands and all that. And then, if you get good reviews from the people that you're out with that stuff, then they'll send you out. And I had a lot of fun on that tour. It was long days with that many bands, but
I bet.
Yeah, it was, and actually the singer had his daughter came out on tour. She was 14 at the time, and she wound up being my little buddy. So I taught her how to patch a splitter and a drum kit, and so she just hang out with me during the day and help me out. And
that's awesome.
Oh man, yeah, she had to leave. She was bawling her eyes out, and I was like, I want to keep her. It was cool.
Yeah,
it's like having a tech,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Being a tech,
your little assistant. What else did you learn on that first tour? That was sounds like your first big tour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you're getting paid a little bit more than you were prior. Maybe not.
I think at that point I was still making more money at the grog shop, but you got to prove yourself in the beginning.
Right.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
What'd you learn out there?
I mean, I think that honestly, the most important thing with that was learning how to deal with stagehands and how to, effectively manage people and how to, immediately try to assess people's personalities and their skill levels and then decide what you can and cannot let them do. Because, especially with some people, I think they don't want to say that they don't know how to do something. So you'll ask them to go do it and then they'll totally destroy your multi-pin connector or something. So, there was definitely that learning curve of, okay, this is what I want a stagehand to do. This is what I have to do myself, and so.
Yeah. And as you said, immediately, because you're rolling into a new place almost every day and you're meeting a crew of people every day.
Yeah.
That aren't rolling with you, that you can't have a little debrief with on the bus later and be like, hey, man, you really fucked up my multi-pin cable.
Yeah.
Right? So, you like you said, you have to assess them quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, every once in a while you run into one that really hates the fact that he has to work for a young chick. And so that's when I realized pretty quick, all right, sometimes if it's that serious, you can't fight it. And it's like, all right, you go to lighting and I make the lighting guy trade me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving personalities around.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
So talk to me about living on a bus. With tell me about bus etiquette first of all.
Bus etiquette. Well, I don't know. What do you want to know?
Well, are you predominantly the only woman on a bus?
Not anymore. On that one, I think that on that entire tour with all those bands and everything, there was 2 girls out there, and the other girl, it was her first tour too.
Wow.
Yeah. So
bonded? Are you guys sisters for life because of that?
No.
She too shall remain nameless.
I wish her luck, but yeah.
But not really.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I guess the bus, obviously, you smoke pot in the back lounge and you drink in the front lounge. I don't know. What else do you say? Try to be quiet in the bunks.
There you go. That's bus etiquette 101.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, incidentally, your Telefunken M81 microphone that you jerry-rigged on top of a bottle. What is the bottle that it's on top of?
It's a bottle of Malbec. Argentinian.
Very nice. A fine vintage. Did you
Yes,
actually did you tape a mic clip to the top of it? Is that what that
yeah,
is?
the clip is taped. See here, the clip is taped
Oh,
to the
yeah.
wine bottle, so the microphone is fine. But yes.
That is an ingenious idea. Did you think of that
Thank you.
just for now?
Yeah, I was like, crap, I don't have a stand. How am I going to do this? So
Listen, I think if it doesn't work out on the road, and given your mom's retail experience, you could package that as a phenomenal recycling idea, right? And you could figure out how to
Yes.
run the XLR down in and out of the bottle. Holy shit, I love that. That's a perfect desktop mic stand. I'm
yeah,
gonna
it'd be
steal
great.
it.
All right,
All right,
go
let's,
ahead.
let's get back on track here. Okay, so you roll off of that punk tour. Is heavy metal punk music, is that your thing?
Yeah, and I think it's just because it's what I know so well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess I tend to, even when I'm mixing stuff that isn't metal, I kind of mix it
A little,
a heavy. And
yeah, a little closer to 11.
yeah. Yeah, but some people like that. So,
Right, exactly. All right, so you roll back off of that tour, and then what happens? Back in the shop?
can't remember. I think, no, actually, that kept me pretty busy. I would go back to the shop for a little bit, but I was kind of like bang, bang, bang. They were putting me out, doing a bunch of stuff. Just same thing though, flying PA and patching the stage. And so I think I did. Jay-Z, when he opened the Barclays Center, I did that, but that was just stationary. And then did a Rick Ross tour.
Yep,
That was fun.
yep.
I'm trying to think of what else I flew PA on. I can't remember, and that's the thing is they since I got there, they've gotten so busy and they're really selective of who they hire. So they keep us going, it's like sometimes you're only home for a day and then it's go out and do this festival. And, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Kept me working. And then, eventually they saw, okay, she can handle the PA side of stuff. Now let's move her to something else. And so, I started to do RF and, it sent me out with Rihanna.
Yep. You
Yeah,
Lady
and so
Gaga,
that was cool. Yeah, yeah, the
Eminem.
Gaga stuff. I only did the promo. Yeah. Well, that was Em and Rihanna were together on the Monster tour, but it was nice because I met a bunch of his people and his band. Because then later down the road, I actually just filled in for a friend, and I just got done. Eminem's the last thing that I did. It was a short thing, but doing monitors for him. So yeah,
That must be pretty cool.
and that was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. His band is so talented too, and it's it's a lot of stuff, it's a lot of inputs, and they all want everything in their ear mixes. And they're they're particular, but so sweet and so amazing and really easy to communicate with. So
Nice.
I had a blast.
So,
Yeah, it was
so
a
on
good
that
show.
thing of easy to communicate, tell me a little bit in your words about the relationship between an artist and a monitor mixer.
I think that obviously the most important thing is that they trust you, and you have to earn that. And then, I think honesty too. I think I see a lot of people in the industry, get in trouble for just kind of being yes men constantly, and sometimes the answer is, well, maybe we should try it this way instead. So yeah, I always just try to be as honest as I possibly can. And I think that people respect and value that.
Yeah. Hence Mama Lion.
Yeah. Mama Lion. Mm-hmm. Mama Lion, the lion tamer. It's all weird.
that's
So many
right.
lions.
I know, right? Are you a Leo?
I am.
Are you? No shit, so am
Yes.
I.
Awesome.
When's your birthday?
July 25th.
July 25th, August 10th.
All right.
My son missed it by one day. He's a Virgo. He's got plenty of lion, Leo tendencies, but he's a Virgo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They get me in trouble sometimes, but
Yeah. Yes, I know. Me too. All right. So for those of us out there that don't know, patching a stage, what's that mean?
plugging in all the microphones.
There
Yep,
it goes.
making them get to the rest of the system. So.
Yep. All right.
Yep.
And an RF tech, I imagine, is someone who deals with the
all the wireless.
all the wireless stuff.
Yeah, so that actually, there's not a whole ton of people that do it, and it's, a lot of people call it it's black magic because sometimes you can try to be as efficient as possible, but there's weird anomalies that happen. And so that was interesting to get into that, especially on a tour that big. And she had a ton of video walls, which will negatively affect you too. And so it was definitely
She is
challenge.
Rihanna? She's Rihanna or Gaga?
Yes.
Rihanna, okay.
Rihanna. Yeah, Gaga, I did promo stuff with her. And then when it came to actually doing the tour, I was really not getting along with a couple people out there. So Tom swapped me out, and I luckily did, because then, sometimes RF techs can get really pigeonholed into always doing RF. And so luckily they needed a front of house tech to go out on OAR. And so I kind of got a little promotion.
Nice.
Yeah.
So back up for me just real quick with the RF thing. So are you sort of like, as the RF tech, are you sort of you're sort of getting them all set up, them being the artists with their wireless and stuff like that, and then providing that feed to the monitor person?
So basically what you do is in the morning you go in, you're in a different place, different city, different venue, whatever, and you have to scan and you have to make sure that there's because digital television and sometimes radio will exist where the spectrum of where all your wireless stuff can. And so, you find that out, and then you have to, there's all these fancy computer programs that you can use now, but you have to coordinate all of your stuff to fit and be, compatible with each other so that, you don't have to worry about what we call intermodulation, things negatively affecting each other. And so you do that, and you program all of your microphones and all your packs and all your, guitar transmitters. And, basically majority of the job is changing a bajillion batteries every day. And then, they just work like a normal input or output from the monitor desk. So
do those packs work like, for example, I'm a filmmaker too, right? So I've had Sennheiser G2 wireless lavalier systems, and you can go in and tune those things, and they're looking for all the open frequencies, and then you sync up the transmitter and receiver, and you should be locked in. But a lot of times, if you're in an area like in the city, a lot of times, right, I'll shoot and you'll get a lot of hits and all that kind of stuff. So I've switched over. I use these Rode wireless filmmaker lavaliers that basically talk to each other, and they're constantly looking for a backup. So there's never a dropout. Is it kind of like that? Is it that secure?
So, well, they have stuff like that. Like Shure came out with the new, the Axiom system a while ago. And I never actually really got to use it too much, but it basically is the microphone is constantly transmitting down 2 frequencies. And so it'll switch to whichever one is cleaner.
Got it.
So it's like an AB system, which is cool. But, no, for the most part, you pick your frequency, and you better have done a good job, because
otherwise you're going to get
it's
that
there.
look.
And if not, obviously you have spare frequencies ready to go. So if somebody's, taking hits, you can go swap out their pack with something that's different, or a different microphone. But obviously too, you have to have, when you're working on a system that's that big, and you have 60 or more channels. I think the most I ever had to deal with was in, the Roseland Ballroom. Lady Gaga was closing it down, and her stuff, I think, was a little over 60 channels. But then there was a musical in the next door, and their stuff was all right there. So I got their frequency list, and I had to coordinate it all together. And it wound up being like 112 channels in the middle of Manhattan, and it was crazy.
Wow.
But did it. And it actually, I don't really think I had any issues. You just have to be organized and, really check your stuff.
And where are you sort of physically? Are you next to the monitor mixer?
Yeah, Monitor World. Yeah,
Monitor
World. which was great too, especially on Rihanna. Ed Airbar was her monitor engineer, and that guy is amazing, and he's so much fun to hang out with every day. But so I was always right there, so I'd always be standing over his shoulder, and he was working on Digico boards. I didn't know them, and so I got to learn a lot from him.
Nice. So then how did you transition out of there? Well, so then you went up to front of house systems tech. So systems tech, you're basically helping front of house engineer set up all their shit.
Well, so with that, you have the PA that's spec for you to come out. You walk into the venue, and you take like a measurement device, a rangefinder, and you have to measure, all these distances and angles of the room. And then on another fancy computer program again, you design the PA to suit your space. And so I would design it in the morning, and then we'd fly it, and then tune it. So, get to play a bunch of loud Blondie and make the speaker sound good. And and then you're just there, kind of as a little buddy to help your front of house guys, and if they, I'd always walk around while they were mixing and make sure that it sounded consistent from, the bottom to the top. And if not, I would re-EQ a little bit, or shade the boxes differently. So,
Sure.
yeah.
Now, I imagine, a lot of these venues, obviously they've had bands come in for years and years and years. People doing the same thing you're doing every day. And I know that every day is different. I know the weather's different. I know that the air temp is different. I know the size of the crowd's going to be different. But isn't there some of this stuff where someone can just hand you a fucking printout and be like, hey, listen, X, Y, and Z works on this, X, Y, and Z works on that. And so that you don't have to retest and sort of reinvent the wheel every time?
I mean,
I think every sound person who's listening to me ask that right now is like, you're an idiot.
I suppose there could be a database of it. And actually, what's funny? So I would hand write out like the angles of my PA and, give it to my dude. And then one guy, he like stuck it on the wall somewhere and it wound up getting left there for like a week. And then one of my good friends, Trevor Waite, was front of house teching for, I can't remember what band, but he walked in and he found my angle sheet and he was like, yep. So we came to the same conclusion too, if you do it right, like it's probably going to be pretty close. But I mean, then what's the point of my job if there's just a database out there that, techs could just do. So,
right.
But also, different engineers want the PA to be, different. Some of them have, looking for a different tone or specific things, or maybe the band like, is really sensitive, or if they're not on in-ears or something like that and you want to keep the PA higher, maybe it might be better to fly it lower and, angle it more. But in a certain situations, certain bands, you might do something a little bit out of the ordinary to suit whatever gig you're on.
Sure. And I imagine too, there is some security, a sense of security you get knowing that you came in, you checked everything yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you as a crew know how the whole thing's going to work because you've done all the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and then you're taking your gear with you every day. And so if something was giving you problems the day before, you can look at it in the morning and there's just, not really a whole lot of variables when you're
What's your favorite part of the day on the road?
I don't know, probably after the show when I get to get on the bus and have my glass of wine.
I was going to say, are you front of the bus or back of the bus?
Front of the bus.
Front of the bus now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But I go back there and hang out with the guitar techs too.
Sure.
Make some jokes.
Right.
Listen to tunes. Yeah.
And okay, so you come off of doing some RF tech and you go out with OAR and Philip Phillips, 2014, doing the systems tech thing. Good tour. Still learning.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great tour, and it was actually pretty cool too because Philip Phillips, his engineer was a Claire guy. He was a Shoko guy from back in the day, so he wasn't really familiar. We were using D&B speakers, and he wasn't really familiar with it. And his kind of how he wanted the PA to be tuned was much different from Mike Larcy, who was OAR's guy. And so I had my job cut out for me because I would kind of do two different PA tunings for each of them, and I just had to learn what they liked.
Yeah.
Try to treat them differently but equally.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wait, you were working with Larcy.
Larcy, yeah. Uh-huh.
All right, that guy's on my list. Quackenbush gave me his info. Do you know Sean
Larcy.
Quackenbush?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Sean gave me a list of people. That's how I got to Wrightsman. And Larcy's on the list. We've talked once, and we're just trying to coordinate schedules. But
oh, he's like the nicest person ever. He's great to talk to.
Yeah.
He was really cool. And we still keep in touch, too. He has a shop. He's a Cleveland guy as well.
Yep.
And so every once in a while, I'll go out and help him out at his shop. And, we'll talk. And if we're in the same city, we'll grab a drink together. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So then tell me about the transition into Monitor World.
So actually, I got sent out on a tour with somebody called Ryan Adams, and I actually didn't know who he was. And I was at another festival. I was doing a giant EDM festival, and it was I was at front of house, and Rachel, who would later become my tech on Ryan, was at stage, and I was like, oh man, I only have like 12 hours at home. They're making me go out on this tour to fill in as the tech. And Rachel was like, oh, he's great. So I was like, okay. And I go out there, and he was having a lot of trouble on stage. You know, I think not only was maybe the gear not the right configuration for him, but also he has a condition called Meniere's disease. So it's a little bit of a challenge. It's like an inner ear problem. And so he was not getting along with his engineer, and I really liked his engineer. He was super funny, really great to work for, really sweet guy. And I kind of made a lot of changes, and I tried to do all these things to help him. And, you know, during the show, sometimes I'd sneak over and I'd grab his mouse and I'd pull a frequency if I started to hear it feeding back. And Ryan noticed, and he, you know, went to his tour manager at the time. It was this woman, Mary Jo. And he was like, you know what? I think that girl knows what she's doing, and I want her. And so he wound up replacing his engineer with me.
Wow.
And I've been with him for 3 years.
What's that like when you sort of slide into someone else's position?
I mean, you know, I have actually seen the guy since then, and we're totally cool. It was fine. He was kind of miserable out there. Him and Ryan were really not getting along. And, you know, that happens sometimes. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. It's not to say that he's not a good engineer, but he just wasn't the right engineer for that person. So,
sure.
I slid into it and, you know, mixed the first show, and Ryan pulled the whole crew into his dressing room afterwards. And he was like, Lauren has sonically reattached my balls. And
that's awesome.
So,
wow.
Yeah. But it was also, you know, I kind of watched somebody fail. And so I kind of already knew what not to do. And I, you know, had a lot of time to get to know Ryan's mannerisms and see, you know, when he was having problems and what he was struggling with. And I sort of developed a formula inside my own head of what I thought that I should do before I even got, you know, my hands on the console. And so, and it worked out.
Do you approach someone like Ryan Adams in terms of his instrumentation, right? It's going to be a lot of acoustic instruments and stuff up there, right?
Actually, no. Since I've been with him, he's been in full on rock and roll mode. So we've got loud guitar cabinets, 2 guitarists, bass player, drummer, and, you know, Key World with an organ, a Leslie cabinet. Yeah. So it's really old school, you know, rock and roll. Luckily, Ryan and I have a lot of similar music tastes, and, you know, so we were going really 70s rock on a lot of this. And so it's nice, you know, I understand his references when he's talking about what he wants. And, you know.
How does something like that working for Ryan, you know, change when you bounce to someone like, well, Eminem you already had a history with?
Well, I was teching under, I was RF teching on that tour, and I was working under his engineer, Ryan Cecil, who's still one of my great friends. And he was a really good mentor to me through a lot of stuff, especially when I decided to go independent. But yeah, so I got to watch Ryan mix and all that. And normally my friend Danny takes care of Eminem, but he just kind of got sick. And so I took over on this last run.
Yeah. So when did all
So
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No. No,
I was just going to say, when did this sort of fall season end for you before you went off to New Zealand, work-wise?
It was pretty recent. Let's see. We did, oh my God, I'm like so bad at dates and times and stuff like that. We did Saturday Night Live a couple weeks ago. And that was the last thing I did.
With Ryan? With Eminem?
With them.
Right.
Yeah. Ryan, we finished in October.
Okay. So tell me about Saturday Night Live. Tell me what it's like rolling into a place like Saturday Night Live and doing a show.
Well, Saturday Night Live, actually, this was different because I've done a lot of TV, mainly with Ryan, pretty much, I mean, all the big ones. And normally you walk in, they have their own mixer, and so you just have to stand at the mic and articulate what you want, and 99% of them will listen to you and do exactly what you want, and then the other one won't, and it'll suck. But with this thing, just because it's so big, I mean, there's a lot of outputs and a lot of inputs. And so they let me bring in my desk into SNL. And so it was a total piece of cake. It was just me and my tech, like, doing our normal thing.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it was great. And the guys there were super sweet and really accommodating. So yeah.
What is your desk of choice, Lauren?
Typically I prefer Digico, just because it's, you know, so easy to configure. So most of the stuff, like when I did ASAP Rocky for a while too, and I took Digico. The only issue I have with it is that I love using Waves plugins, and they are not compatible. And like, how many times have I had a freaking desk crash because of those two things? So
yeah.
But yeah, I do need to try though. I guess I use a profile on Ryan, and Avid came out with their new console, and supposedly a lot of the features that I like about the Digico they have incorporated in the Avid stuff, and it actually works with Waves. So that's one of my goals this winter is to get some time in the 8th Day shop and try to learn a new console. So
that's something you could do. You could call up 8th Day and say, hey, I got to come in and like sit at a console and put it through its paces.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're great. And I mean, and I still,
yeah,
you know,
I
if they're in a
for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still, you know, even though I left them a couple years ago, I think it's been 2 years now. And, you know, not for anything bad. I just wanted to be independent because I only wanted to mix and I wanted to be able to work a little bit less and I wanted to be able to negotiate my own rates and all that stuff. So that's really the only reason that I left and went independent. But I still, I'm in really close contact with them. And, you know, they were in between Ryan and Eminem. I went out and I front of house teched a gig for them. You know, if they need people, I'm always there to help. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned going independent a few times. And so I'm curious for you, have there been slow times? Have those slow times gotten to a little bit of a point you're like, no, man, I'm in demand?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I mean, not to like brag or anything, but I get so many offers that I can't take them. But it's also, you know, because I did work in, you know, a couple different genres. And so I think a lot of people will pigeonhole themselves into one thing or one management company, whereas I don't. And I worked for a lot of really cool people. And, you know, some of the gigs I've gotten through other stuff, like I got to work for Jenny Lewis for a while because she was Ryan's opening act. And then, you know, I took over. But, yeah, and then did a lot of stuff with Kurt Vile, who's so much fun. He's such a sweetheart. And so, yeah, so it's actually going to be my next year. I haven't actually totally decided what I'm doing, but it's kind of like it's almost hard decisions at this point because I love everybody that I've worked for so much that it's like I don't want to let anybody down. I want us to be able to work for everybody.
Who's on deck this year? Can you say?
Well, I know Ryan's going to be doing stuff, but not till later in the year. And then, I have a couple of things coming up, but I'd kind of rather not say who they are because it's sort of, you know, friends lining me up for stuff. But
yeah.
You know, I haven't worked for them or done anything successfully with them yet, so I don't want to say any names.
Yep.
But
totally agree. When do things start up for you? Do you have like a month or two off right now?
Probably mid January. Yeah, I'm trying to take a little bit of time off now, just because. Yeah, I was so busy. I was going all year, and so it's nice to come home and be able to reconnect with my friends and have a little bit of a life and you know, take care of myself.
Yeah. So
my nails look good for the first time all year.
Is that black?
Almost.
Almost
it's like
black.
It's like a wine color. Look.
Right.
Yeah. You know,
it's like a Malbec.
Yes, it's like a little Malbec. Malbec manicure.
Is wine your thing, or are you a beer girl?
Yes. Oh no, just wine. I used to be a hard liquor girl, but yeah, Ryan actually made me cut that out, and so now I just stick to my wine, and I behave. I break a lot less bones.
There you go. All right, good. So let's hit these few things before I let you go. So how do you take care of yourself out there?
Well, I've been a vegetarian for over a decade now, and so that helps.
Yep.
And I really pay attention. I always make sure that I eat because I get really cranky if I don't eat, and everybody knows that. So just taking time for that. You know, everything else can wait a couple minutes. Eat your food. Make sure you're not all cranky.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, well, luckily, I mainly tour with Ryan. And our tour is about half and half girls. So it's nice on days off, you know, we'll go to the spa or we'll go shopping or go out to like a nice little restaurant and, you know, just like have a normal day, give your brain a break from work constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you meditate? Do you go for a run? Anything like that?
Oh God, no. I should. I think that would probably help me a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but you know, work is physical enough, so it kind of keeps me in shape. And yeah, drink a lot of water.
Right, water out there is definitely important. Favorite things to bring with you on the road?
I don't know.
You're packing your bag. You got only so much room.
Yeah.
What do you want to bring?
True. I mean, probably. So I was in Budapest a couple years ago. I just went on vacation by myself, and I bought the most comfortable pair of tennis shoes ever. They're called Tizzas, and they're amazing. And I tried to buy them online again, and I can't. So they're like really beat up, but they're still the best shoes ever. And now I absolutely have to go back to Budapest in the next couple months and buy more shoes.
Is that on deck for you? Is there a Budapest tour in your future?
No, but I've got like a bajillionaire miles, so I will go if I need to.
Awesome.
You know,
just for tennis shoes. All right, so you're bringing tennis shoes.
Yes.
Do you watch movies on the road? Are you a big movie person?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes I'll sneak off and go to like weird rock and roll shows in like a bar or basement somewhere because I still love that.
While you're on tour, you'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, nothing really too crazy. Like that one's a pretty small tour, and we're all really close knit, so we just hang out on our days off. And I guess I try to go out and like get into nature a little bit if I can. If there's a cool park or something, I'll go out and look at a tree. I don't know.
Have you had long distance relationships that you've had to try to maintain while out on the road? And if so,
you know what?
And if you don't want to answer that question, that's totally fine.
Oh no!
But if you do, or if you had, what's your methodology for keeping that shit together? Well,
I can't. I'm bad at it. So I try. Like, it seems like every winter I come home, in the dead season, and it's like clockwork. Halloween, I always meet a new boyfriend. And then I'll come home, and then it'll be super cute. We'll hang out, and they're like, oh, your job sounds so amazing. And then I actually go on tour, and like week 5 is the murder week. It's like they can't handle it anymore. They're freaking out. Yeah. They cheat on me or something. I'm bad. I mean, I'm really bad about keeping in touch. If I'm on the road and I'm busy, like my head is focused on what I'm doing, and like, I'm sorry, but I can't reply to your cute emoji text all fucking day. Like, I'm busy. So it's every year. It's just this cycle of me destroying another relationship with my job. And I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's fine.
What's the future?
So it's weird.
Look like?
I don't know. I'll probably get some more cats. Future. I thought you were talking about relationship wise.
Well, yeah, we can hit that too. We got a few minutes.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to get more cats, but, career wise, I don't know. You know what? I think, I like what I'm doing. It's to the point now where I feel like I make, fair money, compared to my peers. And, I enjoy it, but I don't think that I'm going to do it forever, honestly.
Yeah.
It's physically and mentally kind of exhausting. And so, I don't know, I'd say probably 5, maybe 10 more years in the industry, and then I'll go do something else.
Totally out of the industry, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Does the recording world?
No.
No.
Oh, God. No, it's so boring. I've like sat in with my friends in the studio. I just think it's the most tedious thing. Like, I like the chaos of live sound. Like, even when shit is the most fucked up thing ever, like my band's getting electrocuted, like I enjoy the pressure and the chaos. So it's live or nothing for me.
Nice. Do you do any mentoring yourself?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I have, I try to take women as my techs when I can. So I've had a girl, Rachel, that was with me all year, and she's amazing. And I just do everything to try to help her. I've got her mixing the opening acts so she can learn the console better. And now, she can set up her own file. She's comfortable ringing stuff out. And, there's a couple girls at the shop, but also, the boys. And I still get a lot of phone calls from some of the 8th Day people if they're in an RF bind, or, one of the guys is trying to set up a file and can't figure out how to put a reverb in or something, when they're at a gig. Like, I'll still get phone calls, and I'll always be there to help them out. Because it was the same for me, and it still is. I know that I could call somebody on a Sunday night, and they're going to answer and help me.
Nice. So you get so let's take that one step further. So you get a newbie who shows up at your doorstep, and you're going to take them out of the road. What's your advice?
Well, that's a hard question. I don't know. I guess, honestly, it's just try to be as nice as you possibly can to the people that you're working with, because it doesn't matter, how good you are at your job. If you're an asshole and nobody wants to live on a bus with you, then you don't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
So pay attention and try to be respectful.
I love it. Lauren, how do people get a hold of you if you want them to?
I don't know if they know my phone number or my email address. I have a Facebook too that I don't ever check. Oh, I have an Instagram. I forgot about that.
Do you post?
Yeah, I guess find me. Huh?
Do you post on Instagram?
I forget that I have it. And so like maybe once my friends made me get one this year. And I think I've put up like 3 pictures in the last 6 months. But yeah, probably Facebook.
Cool.
The best thing. Lauren Crowley. You can find me.
Awesome.
There's a picture of me like on a donkey, I think, looking ridiculous.
Awesome. Lauren, this has been great. I appreciate you giving me your time. Happy holidays.
Thanks. So nice to talk to you, Larry.
And you know what? Happy New Year, man.
Yes. Happy New Year, since it should be New Year's Day.
That's right. Have a fantastic 2018. And hopefully
Thanks.
we'll see you out on the road.
Absolutely. Keep in touch.
Talk to you soon. And just like that, 2018 is officially a go. All right, Lauren Crowley, thank you so much. I can't wait to see you out on the road this year. Stay tuned next week, folks. Hank Fury's coming in, episode number 80. Systems Tech and Human Mic Stand, Hank Fury. Don't forget, you can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note, info@roadiefreeradio.com. You know I want to hear from you. In the meantime, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.